right, we have, let's pretend that we have two ramps. We have ramp number 1. And we have ramp number 2. How long is ramp number 1? Make up a number for me.
14.
Ramp number 1 is 14 feet long. And how far does it rise from the ground up when you're going up your ramp?
10 feet.
It rises 10 feet. Ramp number 2, on the other hand, ramp number 2 is 30 feet long. And it rises, let's say, 24 feet. By the way, those are very, very steep ramps. They are certainly not handicap accessible. What I want to know, which ramp is steeper?
It would be the ramp 1
Ramp 1. Why do you say ramp 1?
because it's longer.
Yeah, ramp 1 is shorter, but it doesn't go up as high.
Rises faster.
Ramp 2 is longer, but it goes up a lot higher. So which one is steeper?
Well, I guess you gotta find the difference between them and figure out which one's a bigger number.
Okay, what do you mean by difference between
So
them?
like I'd say ramp number 2 because 30 minus 24, that's 6. 14 minus 10, that's 4. I'd go with the bigger number. Would be the steeper one.
Okay,
Would
I
it be
think it's
rise
number
over?
1.
Would it be rise over run?
the way we usually measure steepness is we measure steepness by rise over run. So for ramp number 1, how much did it rise?
10 foot.
It rose 10 feet. And how much did it run?
14.
14 feet. Grab your calculator. Type in 10 divided by 14 and give me a decimal, maybe to like 3 places would be enough. 0.704. How about ramp number 2? How much did it rise? 24 feet. And how much did it run? 30. 0.8. 0.8 exactly. Those are happy lucky numbers. Which ramp is steeper? Ramp number 2 is steeper. It has a bigger slope. Oh, I just used a word. What word did I just use?
Slope.
Slope. This is called the slope. So we would say ramp number 2 is steeper. It has a larger slope. Okay, so slope. Slope is a very, very important thing whenever you're dealing with a line. A ramp is a nice straight line, correct? Slope tells us 2 very important things about any line. Does anybody know what the 2 very important things are? Well, one of them you should know. No, not well, sort of how long. What does slope tell us about these ramps? It told us which one was steeper. So slope tells you about how steep something is. And slope is also going to tell us something else. And let's look at a couple examples of some lines here. I'm going to draw a line. Here's a line. And I'm going to pick 2 points on this line, and I'm going to slide it up so you can see it. There we go. I'm going to pick 1 point right here. Somebody make up some reasonable numbers. What are some reasonable numbers for that point right there?
5, 4.
It looks like it's about 5 over and 4 up. Okay, I can believe that. 5, 4. And then I'm going to pick another point. I'm going to pick this one right here. Again, somebody give me some reasonable numbers.
4, 2.
4, 2? I don't think 4 is very reasonable. If that's 5 all the way to there,
Yeah, 3, 1.
3, 1 I think is more reasonable. If that's 5 all the way to there, I don't think that's 4 all the way to there. So 3, 1 I think is more believable. Okay. I want to know the slope of this line. Slope is a fraction. It's rise divided by run. If I start at the point 3, 1, and I want to walk to the point 4, 5, I could do it by going this way. I could walk straight up and then straight over. This straight up distance is called the rise. Up is rise. So this is called the rise. And the straight across distance is called the run. Okay. So if I start at the point 3, 1 and I want to walk to the point 5, 4, how much do I have to go straight up?
3.
I have to go 3 because I got to go from a height of 1 to a height of 4. So that would be 3. Rise goes on top, so 3 goes on top. And then what's my run?
2.
Because I start from an x value of 3 and I want to go to an x value of 5. That's 2 spaces. So the slope of that line is 3/2. Is that a steep line? Not particularly, I suppose. What would happen if I drew a line that was steeper than that one? Would my slope be bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
Bigger. Let's find out. Let's draw one that's steeper. And again, we'll just make up some numbers here. Let's draw one that's really steep. This line looks like this. Again, I'm just going to make up a couple points here. Let's see. This one right here, this one looks like it's about 1, 10 maybe. And this one right here looks like it's,
0, 1.
oops, not 0, 1.
Negative 1.
-1, comma 0. Correct. Go do the left and right first. All right, and once again, I want to know the slope. Slope is always the rise over the run. So, rise, I got to start here, and I got to climb 10 spaces straight up, don't I? And then I got to run, I got to go across this way, 2 spaces, because I got to go from -1 to 0, and then from 0 to 1. That's 2 steps, right? So that's 5. So that line was much steeper than the first one I drew, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did I get a bigger slope?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want us to simplify that? 10 over 2. You want to do 5 over 1.
I would prefer if you simplify your fractions, yeah, but I usually don't take points off if you don't. Especially if it's 10 over 2, I'd much rather see the number 5 than a fraction left over. If it were 10 over 4, I wouldn't care so much if you wrote it as 5/2 or not. But in general, yeah, reduce your fractions. Okay, so the first thing the slope tells us about it tells us how steep a line is. So when a line has a big slope, the line is
Steep.
very steep. If a line has a small slope, it's very
So steep.
not so steep. Also called shallow. Not so steep, it's called shallow. Now, what if the line goes the other way? What do I mean the other way? Well, what if the line goes that direction instead? And what if you have a gradual decline? Correct. All right, somebody tell me 2 reasonable points on this line. I'll pick 0, 4. You know, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's kind of funny. I was thinking the number 4 right there for the y-intercept. And how about another point on this line? Maybe this one right here.
1.
5, 1. Okay. I want to know the slope of this line. Slope is rise over run. So this time I got to start at 0, 4, but I got to walk downhill. So we call that a negative. If we got to go downhill, we call it negative. So I have to go from a height to 4 down to a height of 1. So how far have I gone? I've gone -3. I had to go down 3 units. Divided by my run, I go this way. How far is my run? 5. So, what's different about this slope than of the other lines we had?
Going down and not up.
This line is going down and not up. And what turned out to be different about our slope? It turned out to be negative. That's correct. All right, so that's the second thing slope tells us. Slope tells us 2 things. It tells us how steep a line is. If the number is big, the line is very steep. If the number is small, it's very shallow. The other thing it tells us is direction. When the slope is positive, the line's going to go upward when you go from left to right. When the slope is negative, the line will go downward from left to right. So slope tells us direction as well as steepness. Questions on that? All right, my next question is, when I'm finding this rise for all these problems that I did, how am I finding the rise?
Oh, I'm going with the y-axis.
I'm going up the y-axis. So to find the rise, we use the y values, don't we? And conversely, how did we find the run?
X-axis.
The x's, we use the x-axis. Notice that this number, -3 right here, happens to be 1 minus 4. 1 minus 4 would give us -3. On this problem, this number 10, where did the number 10 come from?
10 minus 0.
10 minus 0 gives us the number 10. So how do you find the rise?
Take the higher y point and subtract it by the lower high point or y point.
Truth is, it doesn't really matter which one's higher, which one's lower.
Okay.
You just subtract the 2 y numbers.
Okay.
And then how about the run?
We add, subtract the 2 rows.
Subtract the 2 x's.
But with that first one, though, if I subtract 0 and then or take 0 and I subtract -10, then my rise would be -10, though, right?
Okay, very good. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So you're right. Oh, we'll talk about it right now. You decided to go 10 minus 0 for your rise.
Yeah.
If you go 10 minus 0, you do it in that order on your x's, on your y values, then what order do you have to subtract your x values in?
1 minus -1.
1 minus -1. So that gives us 10 over 2, which is 5. What if I decided I wanted to do it the other way? What if I decided I want to go 0 minus 10?
You gotta do it.
Then I've got to pick this one first for my x number. I have to go -1 minus 1. What's 0 minus 10?
-10.
-10. What's -1 minus 1? -2. What's -10 divided by -2?
+5.
You get the same answer as long as you keep things in the exact same order. All right, so what that leads to is for slope, we have a nice little formula that we
Can
use.
you throw that up there just for a sec?
Yep. All right, I'll write down here at the bottom of the page. Maybe you can still see. For slope, we remember that slope is always rise over run. And the little formula that you'll see for slope looks like this. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, this notation I find really confuses people. Notice that the 2 and the 1 are written down here low. These are called subscripts. What's the difference between this symbol and that symbol?
That's a square.
This one's square.
This one means y squared. What does this symbol mean?
Sub the value for.
No,
The second line.
it just means the second y number. Okay, so when I write this 2, this 2 does need to be down low. If you're writing the 2 up high as an exponent, you're writing the wrong thing. It doesn't mean what you want. Okay? The 2 has to go low. This symbol simply means the second y value. And so y sub 1 means
First y value.
the first y value. All right, so the way a lot of the problems are going to look in the book, they're not going to give you a graph. They're just going to say, find the slope of the line through, and they'll give you 2 points. They might say 5, -3, and 8, 7. If you really wanted to, you could go ahead and draw yourself a graph, and then you could count the spaces up and count the spaces over and figure out your slope that way. But that's kind of time consuming. The way we normally do it is we say slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. What's the second y number? 7. Minus, what's the first y number? -3. Divided by, what's the second x number? 8. Minus the first x number? 5. And then we simplify. What's 7 minus -3?
4.
Oh, be careful.
It's
Negative
10.
I did mine backwards.
Positive.
It's a positive 10.
Why is it positive 10?
Because those two negatives cross out and they make plus.
A minus and a minus turns into a
Positive.
positive, so this is really 7 plus 3. 7 plus 3 is
10.
10. All right, so there are 2 hard things about slope. 1, there's always subtraction. You got to keep track of your signs. 2, there's always fractions. Every single slope problem is a fraction, isn't it? No way to avoid fractions now, is there? Crap. Oh well. 10 divided by, what's 8 minus 5? 3. Questions on that? Yes? No? Is it? Go ahead.
Now, if we gave you like the decimal, like if we
No, you won't give me the decimal. You'll give me the fraction. I don't want decimals. Because to give me the decimal, it doesn't come out exactly. You're going to have to round it off. I don't want rounded off decimals. I want the fraction. Because in a little while, we're going to be doing things with slope. And if you're rounding off from the beginning, then every answer gets more and more wrong. Because round off error tends to multiply, not go away. So we don't want to round off. We want to keep our answers in nice fractions.
And then the x2, x1, that means which x is first. So
Correct. So all this one is x1 because that x number came first.
Okay.
And this one is y1 because that y number came first.
Okay.
And then this one's x2 and that one's y2. That's all. So the first question I would ask you is I would ask you to find the slope. And you found it, it's 10/3. The next question I would most likely ask you is that line increasing or decreasing?
Increasing.
Increasing. Why is that line increasing?
Positive number.
Because our slope turned out to be a positive number. When the slope is a positive number, the line is increasing. So this line is increasing. All right, how about this one? I'll make up two. Oh, somebody make up some numbers for me. Pick your favorite number. 6, 7. 6, comma 7. And 5, comma
2.
-2. Gotta have at least one negative number in there, right? Can't all be positive, that's too easy. Same directions, I want you to find the slope. And after we find the slope, I want you to tell me if it's increasing or decreasing. So you go ahead and do that. You find the slope, and then tell me if it's increasing or decreasing. So it sounded like the most popular answer was 9. Let's see, my answer would be m equals, what's the y2 number? -2 minus 7 divided by 5 minus 6. -2 minus 7?
-9
-9
over -1.
over negative 1.
Equals negative.
Two negatives make a
Positive.
positive. And you were the one who said two negatives made a positive
I know.
before. Two negatives make a positive. That's positive 9. So this line is
Increasing.
increasing again.
Now,
Go ahead.
is it increasing if it's a positive number? Is that the deal?
Yep. If the slope turns out to be a positive number, it's
It's
increasing.
negative.
It's negative, it's decreasing. All right, so I'll make up one where it's negative. How about if I gave you the point negative 1, 4, and 3, negative 7. I believe this one is decreasing. Let's find out. My slope would be, well, what is it?
Minus 7 minus 4.
Negative 7 minus 4.
Negative 7.
That's okay. Divided by
3 minus negative 1.
3 minus negative 1. How much is negative 7 minus 4?
Negative 11.
Negative 11. 3 minus negative 1.
Positive 4.
Positive 4. This time my slope is,
Decreasing.
my line is decreasing because my slope is negative. A negative divided by a positive is negative. So this time line is decreasing. Okay, I got a couple more for you. How about the 2 points? Negative 2, 5, and negative 2, 8. What can you tell me about the slope of that line?
It's a straight line.
All lines are straight.
Oh, yes. Oh.
I think you mean it's a different kind. It's a special kind of straight line.
Horizontal, I don't know.
The slope is undefined.
Is that
Yeah.
possible?
It is possible. And how is that possible?
Because you can't divide by 0.
You cannot divide by 0. Look what happens this time. You have m equals, y2 is 8 minus 5, y2 minus y1. And on the x's, negative 2 minus negative 2. 8 minus 5 is 3. But negative 2 minus negative 2, that's negative 2 plus 2. And negative 2, it cancels out. You get 0. How much is 3 divided by 0?
Undefined.
It's not 0, it is undefined. So that is a potential correct answer. It is potentially correct that the slope would be undefined.
And when there's a 0 on the bottom of a fraction, it doesn't matter what it is, it's always undefined.
If there is a 0 on the bottom of the fraction, the answer is always undefined. That is
You can
correct.
think of like under, undefined.
Under undefined, that works. Here's the way my teacher told me to remember it. If a man goes to a beach, is it okay if he has nothing on top? Yes. However, if a man goes to a beach, is it okay if he has nothing on bottom?
No.
Well, it depends on your beach preferences, I suppose, but the answer is typically no. It's not okay for a man
And
to
this one,
have.
I got negative 3 over 0.
You got what?
Negative 3 over 0. So I got up.
You did negative 3 over 0. That's fine, because you did 5 minus 8 up on top. Again, the order doesn't matter as long as you stay consistent. All right, when you get slope is undefined, you have a special kind of line. It's that kind? How come?
Because the line is the
Well, how much is the line running? How far is it going left and right?
0.
It isn't going left and right, is it?
There's no slope, right?
Well, the slope is undefined. You got to be careful when you say no slope, because in the very next problem, we're going to have slope to be 0.
You just have the y. I mean, like,
It's the x. Is it the x?
Well, let's see.
It starts on the x.
Vertical
It
line.
goes up the y.
Let's draw the picture. Where's negative 2 comma 5? Right about there. And where's negative 2 comma 8? Straight above it, isn't it? What kind of line is that called?
Vertical.
Fine.
Vertical. Well, no, the line is called vertical. The slope is called undefined. Okay, so if you work out a slope problem and you get 0 on bottom, that means your slope is going to be undefined. And then if I ask you, is the line increasing or decreasing, you're going to tell me neither. You're going to tell me the line is
Vertical.
vertical. Got that?
So I'm assuming you're going to show us what happens when zero's on top.
What happens when zero's on top? Ah, that was the very next question. All right. So let's say I gave you the points 3, 4, and the points -2, 4. I would try to find my slope. My slope would be
4 minus 4.
4 minus 4 divided by
-2
minus 3.
-2 minus 3. Excellent. That's 0 over -5. How much is 0 over -5? That one's 0. It's okay for the man to have nothing on top. That one is 0. So now what's happening? How much is the line going up and down? It's not. So we've got the point 3, 4. We've got the point -2, 4. What kind of line do we have? Horizontal. So once again, the question here would be, find a slope. You would work it out. You would tell me the slope is 0. And then I would ask you, is this line increasing or decreasing? And you would tell me, neither. It is horizontal. Okay, so those are the special cases. If your slope turns out to be 0, special case, the line is horizontal. If your slope has 0 on bottom, then it is undefined, and your line turns out to be vertical. Questions about that? Questions on anything?
I think this is easier than the last one, to be honest.
I would agree. I think this section is easier than the last one.